This is Marquivas Furious Nias, and you're listening to Deeper Than Music Radio.
Deeper than music. The core of you, the fans, the truth is deeper than music. Deeper than music. Simply the truth is the latest, the newest. It's deeper than music. Deeper than music. The core of you, the fans, the truth is deeper than music. Deeper than music. Simply the truth is the latest, the newest. It's deeper than music. Deeper than music.
Hello, out there, everybody in podcast land. This is Mark Furious Nias, Deeper Than Music Radio. Behind every great song, there's an even greater story. I'd like to say what's up to everybody listening to us on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and all the other podcasting platforms out there. So today we definitely have a treat and something that's much needed. Music is the universal language, and music is very powerful. Had a discussion with one of my friends about the civil rights movement, and thinking about a common lyric, couldn't imagine going through it without soul music, and how music, as well as church and faith, played a huge role in, us overcoming and, fighting for our civil rights. With that being said, music can be great. Music can be harmful. Some of the people I listen to, especially with Dr. Boyce Watkins, talking about the Cardi B's and things of that nature, how it just impacts our kids. Me being a father of a 13-year-old daughter, I pay attention to what she listens to. So with that being said, we have a very special group here, Black S.T.E.A.M, which basically is a media-based company, and their aim is to bridge the gap between education through music. I have special guests Dr. I and Miseducation, and they're breaking down the stereotype, that, just being educated and being into science and things of that nature is corny. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we have Dr. I and Miseducation here on Deeper Than Music Radio. How you doing?
Hey, thanks for having us.
Yes,
Great.
thank you. You're doing well.
Not a problem. And one thing that I want to say is, so outside of music, I am very into, I work in the aviation field. I used to be an air traffic controller, very heavy into like robots, science, technology, weather. And one thing that I remember, shout out to Trayvon Martin, and rest in peace, is that he was he was actually involved in a pilot program. And the sad part was that, and I somebody was saying when they were talking about Trayvon Martin, somebody was saying that, look, black person ain't supposed to be a pilot or whatever. And I just remember when I went into the aviation field, even what I do now, people, question that and being black. And I think that's very detrimental, So I applaud you guys for what you do. So I want to ask, my first question is, what is Black S.T.E.A.M?
Okay, so Black S.T.E.A.M, we are an education platform and we're media based. So we do create music, and our goal with our music is to bridge the gap between education and culture. We feel like, especially with minorities, oftentimes we're left out, and the information that the children are receiving is not as relatable. So we want to make that more relatable for them. When they're listening to this music, we want them to feel like it's for them, that the sound is for them. It's something that they can dance to. So that's really our goal. And of course, to educate.
Okay. And I want to, what was the genesis of Black S.T.E.A.M? Like, how did you guys come up with this awesome idea?
Yeah, so I'm actually a teacher, and I teach 5th grade. And Miseducation was actually a substitute teacher for me in my own classroom. And so teaching these kids, and I'm definitely I'm a science specialist, so science is one subject that I definitely drill into my kids all the time. And so I found for especially our minorities that when reaching and talking about science, there was a gap. And but one thing I've always saw with my kids was that we all had Chromebooks. So it was a new thing that was rolling out, a new pilot program that was rolling out where all the kids were able to get Chromebooks on one-to-one. And the kids always would listen to music. And as a teacher, I wasn't able to always monitor what type of music they were listening to, and so they were listening to the Cardi B, the music that wasn't appropriate for their age. And then I got a program that allowed me to monitor what they were listening to, so I would just always shut it down. But I never could tackle that 100%. And so sometimes my kids will come to me and say, can we listen to spa music? And so it clicked to me and said, well, they just want to listen to some type of music. And, going back to, and this is kind of natural for human nature sometimes, thinking about the Kodayi method, where music helps create that genius, that it builds that your brain critically. And so I know Miss Education is into music. She's a songwriter, established songwriter, and very skilled. And I'm skilled in science. And so I said, well, let's combine this. The kids want to listen to music. They, it doesn't matter what they're listening to. Let's make that constructive. Let's meet them where they are and make that constructive and give them something that they will love to listen to, that they will love to dance to, and they will learn at the exact same time. And so that was me fighting a battle that I felt like I didn't have to fight. And instead of trying to fight that battle, let me work with them instead and be a little more constructive. And so once I hit Miss Education up and said, well, I have this idea. Let's do education music. Let's do this, and let's target science first, and then let's branch off to the other things. And she was just straight on board and said, oh, absolutely, let's go. Let's start recording. And so that was something that was the genesis. That was the start of it all. And really, it started with my kids and just observing them and watching them wanting to listen to music. And then combining what I want to do with them as well.
And I'd like to say that Dr. I's name is not just a stage name or an alias. He's actually Dr. I. He holds a doctorate degree in education and leadership.
Okay. Wow. This is I think it's a very powerful thing, and I'm glad you guys are allowing me to, put this on the platform and put the word out. So, Miss Education, let me ask you a question. When did you know that you wanted to be involved in music?
Oh, wow. Since I was younger, Dr. I and I, we're actually cousins. So he knows how I feel about this. But one day I was watching Looney Tunes and Daffy Duck was cutting a rug. He was just up there, la, 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 la. And I thought it was so amazing. I used to take that back in like the first and second grade and try to sing opera. And so, when moms are always like, do that thing you do in front of everybody. So I used to be at school singing these little, opera tunes or whatever. And that was the start of me singing and actually realizing that I had a voice. It wasn't until maybe about middle school where I was starting to write because, my family, they're into music. And so my uncles would be in the living room with their computers making beats and writing songs, and my brothers as well. So I always wanted to do that. But you know how they shoo off the little kids or whatever. So I would just kind of write to myself. And I would always call Dr. I and say, hey, listen to this. Listen to what I wrote. And so later on, a little bit after I graduated from college, we actually both went to Grambling State University.
Okay.
I met up with a producer, and he connected us with another producer, and they were asking for me to write a song for a certain artist. Well, it didn't end up going to that artist, but it did go to another one, and it was her debut single. It ended up hitting the Billboard charts. Top hot sales. I believe we were number 5 for 6 consecutive weeks. So that's how I got my start professionally. Okay. And then I decided to be an artist for myself. But I felt like I had always had this feeling that I had a deeper purpose. I did sing about love, but I wanted it to hit harder. I wanted it to hold more weight. So when Dr. I came to me with the idea of education music, I actually was just writing for him. I was just actually singing for him. And he was like, no, you're going to be on the song. I'm like, what? So, so I got, I was a little thrown into it, but I was always into education as well. I consider myself to be smart. I skipped a grade. So I was always, top of my class in education. I was always very into my books academically, a part of, special, talented, gifted programs. So I love the idea, and I love kids. I love people. I love teaching. So this is how, the music got started in the education field.
Okay. And actually, one of the tracks that I have queued up, if you guys can give me the story behind this song, Water Cycle. What's the story behind this song?
Wow. So I was with another cousin of ours, and he's actually a producer. And we had a bunch of his beats, and we were just kind of going through the productions and listening to them, and we were wanting to just place the topics with each of them. So we ended up picking this one out because it really stood out to us. And we thought that the Water Cycle would be perfect for this sound because it was so smooth.
Right. And one thing that a part of our process as, our being a team is, I definitely will hear some beats, and then I'll dish out a bunch of facts, a bunch of information about just different science topics. And then sometimes Miss Education would just run with it. And so we were switching through the tracks, and the beat came on, and I remember telling her, I said, "Oh, this is the Water Cycle right here." She was like, "The Water Cycle?" I'm like, "Yes, this is the Water Cycle." And so I just feel it flows, it's fluid like water. And so I started, just giving her facts and information, the precipitation, evaporation, all of those different things. And then she just started with the melody, and it was beautiful. So it all just meshed well.
Wow. So it seems like definitely a collaborative effort. You have your expertise, and then her songwriting skills and singing skills blended into one. So ladies and gentlemen, we have Black S.T.E.A.M here, Water Cycle here on Deeper Than Music Radio.
This is Greg of Greg in Good Company, and you are listening to Deeper Than Music Radio.
It precipitates, creating weather, hail, sleet, and snow. Many forms, rainstorms in the tropical. The water recycles, this isn't new, my friends. We use the same old water again and again. We see the blue in the sky, in the ocean. When the sun reflects down, it keeps everything in motion. The rivers, the bays, the gulfs, and the seas, transpiring to the top of the leaves, evaporating into the cool breeze. Without water, can't think, I can't breathe. Can't live, can't feel, can't eat. Water is the resource that we need.
Right, tell us how the water flows through the earth, the clouds, the sky, roots, and the dirt. My supply never runs dry. Water is an idiot, everything that's right. Tell us how the water flows through the earth, the clouds, the sky, roots, and the dirt. My supply never runs dry. Water is an idiot, everything that's alive.
You ever think, how is water always there? Do you know why raindrops are never square? Man, it's crazy how a minute it can ruin then repair. Carry the pollution but they clean the atmosphere. Just to clear the air. Water doesn't sit, it runs off everywhere. Dances through the cracks, call it infiltration. Seeps through the soil, call it percolation. Accumulation is how we get the bodies of water beneath the surface where water flows. That's groundwater, the shallow water. We dig the water, we drill the water, we drink the water, we sell the water. That's well water. Fluid ounces to milliliters for measurements. Two hydrogens and one oxygen, that's the elements. Without water, can't think, I can't breathe. Water is the resource that we need.
Tell us how the water flows through the earth, the clouds, the sky, roots, and the dirt. My supply never runs dry. Water is an idiot, everything that's right. Tell us how the water flows through the earth, the clouds, the sky, roots, and the dirt. My supply
what up? This is Matt James, all the way from Canada. How's she going, eh? And you're listening to Furious on Deeper Than
Black
Music.
S.T.E.A.M, Water Cycle. Man, that's got a groove to it. It's so smooth and easy to just digest. Like, man, this, it's a good joint. It's a good jam, man. So,
Thank you.
what like prompted you to see a need for this? Like, what was the catalyst?
Well, as a teacher, one thing that we always look for are resources. We're always constantly looking for resources, and we're constantly trying to meet the kids where they are. You know, they evolve with time, and their interests change, daily. But one thing that doesn't change is music. They're constantly listening to music. They're constantly trying to dance. And we're constantly, as teachers, trying to incorporate these things to get them interested in education. And so that's one major aspect of it, is trying to get the kids interested in education in a way that they can see it through their eyes and they can hear it through their own ears, and jog that interest. And so music is one thing that we find to be universal. It's in it's in every culture. It's in the classrooms, and again, these are resources that we're constantly trying to find as teachers. And so I've never found a musical resource that I personally like. So I know if I didn't like it as a teacher, my kids aren't going to like it. I'm not going to force that on them, But one thing I did find is that when I did incorporate certain songs, they just danced. They didn't care. They wanted to involve themselves into the music. They wanted to dance. They wanted to get up. And I'm that teacher that allows that, If we found a subject that we liked in a way that we like to learn it, let's take it. We're gonna run with it. If it goes off my curriculum. So, that was part of the reason was, none of these songs sound like Water Cycle is, and what I envisioned, what Miss Education envisioned, and when we were thinking about, what education music can sound like, and so we decided to create our own.
Yeah, we feel like we feel like with the education music, the artistry has to hold as much weight as the content, and we can't just feed it to them in a way where it's just a vomit, and just throw out words just because it rhymes. We have to space things out, make it make sense, and then also give it a type of groove that makes you want to listen, because when we're relaxed, when we're having fun, we actually retain information a lot better.
Yeah. And I like to say that music is kind of subliminal, right? There's a subliminal message, and then even with the anatomy of a song, they call the hook for a reason, because that's what you get hooked on. And you guys speak to something that what's his name? Chris Rock had a joke a long time ago about women will listen to anything as long as it has a hook in it. You know what I mean? And I'm a firm believer, and this is one thing that I've learned being a parent. I guess I'll tell you guys a story. Like, so, that song by, and I was just talking about this last interview, Back That Ass Up. So when that song came out, I was 21, young, didn't care too much, something I danced to in the club, and now having a 13-year-old daughter, that song came on. I was like, oh, we gotta turn that off. You know what I mean? Right. And like you said, kids listen to anything. And the thing that I find really sad is like the videos that I see on YouTube, a little kid just dancing to something. It's like, wow, I wouldn't let my kid listen to it. So I applaud you guys for that. I want to ask a question. What has been like the biggest challenge of this whole movement that you guys have created?
Good question.
That is a good question. I would have to say finding the right style for each subject, because we don't have a signature. There's no signature sound. We're not even necessarily always singing or always rapping. It's just however we would like to deliver it. And so if we take something like, let's say electricity, for example, we want to have something that feels upbeat, that feels electric, and it represents the subject well. So I'm always really big on that. We recently had a song that we haven't released yet, and the feel of it just wasn't there for us, but we didn't realize it until later, until we had someone else work on it. And we were like, oh, this needs to have a dark and mysterious kind of dangerous vibe because we're dealing with the nighttime. And so we just always want to make sure that feel is there because we want you to be able to connect to it. Because we're dealing with education, it's a little bit more challenging to spark emotion. And music is very emotional. So we want to still, with our style, with the subject matter, spark some type of emotion in someone. And I think that's probably been, our biggest challenge thus far.
Yeah. And I want to add to that just because that's dealing with music education music. We have two aspects of what we're doing. We have the educational side and then we have the musicality, the musical part of that. And so dealing with the musical part of it, yes, the emotion, all of that, but even going into the educational aspect of it all, being able to find the, target that information, keep it, to the standards, but not overload the song to where it's just, again, a bunch of word vomit, and then you have a beat in the back, and then it's just a bunch of noise after that. So finding that balance of making it rich in education, but also spacing it out to where that knowledge is easy to digest and easy to remember. That's such a challenge for us, and we're complex thinkers. So we'll end up writing something and we go so far with it, then we have to scale back, and then we're like, we got to put more in it. So just finding that balance with everything is very difficult.
Yeah, because I know. Like Miseducation, I've had a couple songs get placed. Black Ink Crew, Craft Wars.
I saw Dance Moms.
Yeah, and Dance Moms, yeah. So there was a song that I had to do for Mandy Lee. She's a pop artist. She was with Warner Brothers, and then she had a song on the Utopian Society, and she had a remix called Whipped Cream. So I had to make a pop-friendly, tasteful lyrics about whipped cream. And that was like one of the hardest lyrics I ever had to write in my life. And I applaud you guys because like when I was younger, the urban music, there was nothing that was about education. And like you say, like as far as science, like sometimes it can be pretty dry. And I applaud you guys because like you said, you want to emote. You want to make it to where people can digest it, and you want to make it like mainstream and fun. And I applaud you guys because that Water Cycle song, I'm like, man, I could jam to this. You know what I mean? It's I'm getting educated at the same time, which with most urban music, sometimes I feel like I'm losing brain cells. So the next song I want to bring showcase is Left Right. Can you give us the story behind this song?
Oh yeah, Left Right is for the babies. I love Left Right. It's so fundamental, very repetitive. We wanted to make it very fun and something that you can dance to. I really love this one for the culture because it's on an Afro beat, and we actually was able to link up with this producer, P Tunes Beats, and he's out in Nigeria. Okay. So I was very happy with that, and I loved his style of music, and it was just really fun. It's one of those things. I feel like some of my best songs, I always say this, some of my best songs I don't write. They just come to me and I spill it out. I feel like I'm just a corpse, and it just comes out of me. What do you call that? But I just feel like it poured out of me. As soon as I heard it, the song just bam. And I sang it. I threw it to Dr. I, and he came with some good vocals to hype up the song. He's always really hyping. I really love that. So yes, I love Left Right.
Okay, so here we go. Black S.T.E.A.M, Left Right, here on Deeper Than Music Radio.
Hey, this is Ella Reed, and you're listening to Deeper Than Music Radio.
Okay, hey, here we go, hey, clap 2 times, hey, clap 2 times, hey, I know you wanna know your left, hey, I know you wanna know your right, hey, clap 2 times, hey, okay, let's go, come on.
Lift my pointer fingers up, stick fingers up, stick my thumbs out. And the hand that has an L, yeah, I know that's my left, 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 left. The other is the right, 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 right. I know that's my left, 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 left. The other is the right, 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 right. Left, right, 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 left, right. Lift my pointer fingers up, stick my thumbs out. And the hand that has an L, yeah, I know that's my left. Lift my pointer fingers up, stick my thumbs out. And the hand that has an L, yeah, I know that's my left, 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 left. The other is the right, 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 right. I know that's my left, 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 left. The other is the right, 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 right. Left, right, 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 left, right.
Now stop. Everybody dance. Now stop. Everybody dance.
Lift my pointer fingers up, stick my thumbs out. And the hand that has an L, yeah, I know that's my left. Lift my pointer fingers up, stick my thumbs out. And the hand that has an L, yeah, I know that's my left, 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 left. The other is the right, 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 right. I know that's my left, 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 left. The other is the right, 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 right.
Let's go.
Left, right, 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 left, right.
Now stop. Everybody dance.
Black S.T.E.A.M. Left, right. Here on Deep in the Music Radio. Man, another groove right there. Just so, how has the reception been so far? I'm pretty sure like the kids really love the music.
Oh yes. We're getting sometimes we get a lot of parents that will send us, videos of them in the car singing the song, on the way to school. Like, I had a parent that would pick up her son from school every day playing the song because she wanted him to learn the water cycle. He had a test coming up, and they would play it all the time. The kids are dancing to it, even the little kids. I just had a video sent to us that we're gonna put up pretty soon of a mom and her son dancing to Left Right, learning the song, and she thanked us because she trying to figure out a good way to teach him left and right versus just saying this is your left and this is your right. What's a good mnemonic? What's a good way to do it using your motor skills? And so that was something that she sent us thanking us with.
And we were really surprised with where the song was being played. It was like a hockey game. A cruise. Yeah. And
oh, wow.
So a bar. Like when we saw the song was being played at bars, we were like, really? But I guess it's able to blend in with some mainstream music, and I thought that was kind of cool.
Right.
Yeah, because what was that song, The Cupid Shuffle? I mean, songs like that get a lot of airplay. Like, I forget what comics say. He's like, man, I know that. I recognize that song. That's the Ghetto Hokey Pokey or something like that. But we gravitate.
Right.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was saying, and that was a part of the vision, was to get them up, get them dancing, get them actually moving to the left, moving to the right, so that way, that it sticks a little bit more. And then it's fun at the same time, so parents can do it with their kids, grandmas, grandpas, teachers in the classroom, anywhere,
So just make it real family friendly.
So, what has been the most rewarding aspect of this whole movement?
I would say understanding that we definitely have a purpose here, have a purpose with what we're doing. We're not just putting out something that, it can go in one area after the other, it get lost in time, lost in history. This is something that we find to be a need. It's a demand. Even when sometimes people don't know it's a demand, they don't know it's a need. Once they hear it and they're exposed to it, they recognize, well, where has this been? And so that has been the responses that we've been getting too, is, this is something that we need, whether they knew it or not. And just really recognizing how we are stepping into an area that it can be, really, really useful.
For me, I believe that the most rewarding aspect would be knowing that I'm putting something out there, and it's basically letting the kids know, with your talents, you don't just have to talk about these things. I'm noticing a pattern with, the music that's out on the radio and the things that the kids listen to now with certain topics, and it's, drugs and sex and money and narcissism and things of that nature. But you don't have to talk about those things. You can be a brainiac and still sound really good, because I don't consider myself as corny. I don't think that Dr. I is corny either. So you can still have a whole bunch of style and still talk about academics. And
that's one thing, and Miss Education can back me up on this. In my classroom, that's how I run my classroom. I don't run my classroom like a normal classroom. Everyone's an individual, everyone's different. We all learn in different ways. And I'm a scholar, and so I love to learn. And I remember being in class and always, getting in front of certain teachers or behind certain teachers and saying, man, this is so boring. And that's what we hear with kids a lot. This is boring. This doesn't relate to my life. This doesn't relate to me. And I don't run my classroom that way. I like to be lively. I like to engage the kids. I like to be fun. And, a lot of games, a lot of jokes, just, keep it real in the classroom. And, sometimes that definitely involves music. That definitely involves dancing. I dance in front of my kids. I sing in front of them. I rap in front of them. I do all kinds of things. And so I want, one thing that I wanted to highlight is that you don't have to learn one specific type of way. It doesn't have to be, I'm lecturing to you, or it's open this book and read, you know what I mean? Or here's a worksheet, here's a test. That's not always the ways to learn. And, you can learn. I always try to say you're a lifelong learner, and you can learn from anything. I learned how to spell onomatopoeia from watching Hey Arnold. I learned how to do a lot of different things just from TV, from cartoons, from things that people don't see as educational. And I took something educational from it. And so that's one thing I want to get to the kids is, you can learn in so many different ways. Science, technology, all of those different.
Hey, you made me think about something on my way here. Like I used, again, air traffic control, and now, I work for one of the major airlines. Always traveling, going abroad, dealing with different working groups from people all over the world. And, with dealing with stuff in the world, things are always changing worldwide, whether it be geopolitical or just the nature of aviation. One thing that one of my coworkers said to me a long time ago when I was a controller, and is to never get comfortable, always grow, always learn. And that's one thing that I admire about this generation, is that they have so much technology, and which can also be Pandora's box, but so much access to things, whereas we, like you said, a book, we had Encyclopedia Britannica. And I applaud you guys, because through this medium, you're reaching people. And like you said, there's more than one way to reach kids, and more than one way to educate. And in a way that they can relate, especially with, us.
Exactly.
Like with history, I tell people I really didn't learn history, the history that I could connect to, until after graduation and into college and into just life. Like you guys did an Afrobeat. A couple years back, I went to Panama City, Panama, and Bogota, Colombia. And I've always loved Latin music. And I was actually at a bar in Bogota, Colombia, and I'm like, man, I love Africa. I love this music. And one of the Colombian guys that I was with, his name is Abadil. He looked at me like, you don't know? And I'm like, I don't know what. And he's like, this music is African. Like, every song that came on, Afro-Cuban, Afro this. And I didn't realize that the majority of slaves didn't come to America. They came to South America. And there's a huge presence. Like I tell people, when I was in Panama City, Panama, it was like a family reunion, except they spoke Spanish. So, like, I applaud you guys for doing this and connecting, because I don't know about you guys. It was just, if it didn't connect to our culture or something that I could relate to, it was hard to digest. I had to work at it.
Yes, it was the exact same. Just like you, history. I did not get into history at all until I actually went to Grambling State University, HBCU, and when I had a professor there, she made it click and connect so well that it made me interested, and I couldn't figure out why. But now, as an educator, I understand that, and like right now, like I see the same thing with my students. They don't necessarily like the history that's being taught. Why? It's not. They can't relate to it. They don't understand their place in this history. And I actually started a youth step team. I'm an alpha, and so when I was in college, I stepped a lot, and I started a youth step team. But I used that as a moment to teach about history, teach about where stepping came from, teach about that drums was a part of is a part of African culture, and they use drums in weddings and ceremonies in literally everything that they did, and that was banned because it was the culture, and they wanted to assimilate the culture exactly and break that culture, and so they banned the drumming. But out of the drumming came the stepping, and so that's what I ended up teaching my kids, and that hit them a whole different way, because then they had a different reason for stepping. They had a different reason to do what they were doing, and it hit.
And what you're saying, that, man, this is a whole nother topic, but the poisonous music in our culture, I think that has you correlate with the drums to breakers and music being subliminal. So as with all my great interviews, time flies by. I wanted to ask you like two questions. The last question is going to be shameless promotion, because I know people are going to hear this and be like, where can we find their music? What are they doing? So before you answer that question, I want to ask you, when it's all said and done, what do you want this movement's legacy to be?
I want this to go down in history as a new lane. Us to create a path and pave a way for other young musicians to come in and do something positive, that we can learn from, something that's for the culture, for minorities, and not even just the Black culture, Hispanics, Asians, so something that's for everybody. And I would like for us to be able to be on the radio with mainstream music, and other people hear that and like, well, that is something different, but it sticks to them and they learn from it. I want these kids to, I want to redirect some of the children that, are kind of going down the wrong path because of what's out right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And with all of this right now being the start of it all, we already have, music that it is supposed to be education music, but not in this way. And later down the line, when it's all said and done, not even said and done because it won't be done, but when it's established to its fullest potential, I want this to not be something that is separated, to where it is the norm. This is when I hear a song, I'm not saying, oh, this is an education song, this is just a song. When I hear this, this is something that we listen to. Now, this is what we decide to choose, as far as in when we have a party or when we're going someplace. I wanted to change that direction of people and, what they decide to listen to, what they, allow their ears and their brains to be exposed to. And so I definitely want other musicians, as Miss Education said, to come and share their talents and follow this movement, follow this, because you never know what type of great things you're going to get when you have different people with different talents and skill sets doing, something like this. How it's going to change the world, how it may impact somebody. If you hit somebody, that one person may change their life and change the entire world, So
Absolutely.
I definitely want this to be that legacy.
And before we go, Mark, I want to say that I applaud you. You are much needed in our society as an active father, being educated, and being a man of many talents. You were telling me about film directing and the placements that you got. Congratulations on your placements. I know that's hard as an artist. And so, but really being an active father, that just stood out to me, and the things that you were telling me, that you sacrificed just to be there for your daughter. And I really appreciate that. We need more. Absolutely. We need more of that. So I just want to encourage you to keep going, keep being positive. And then you threw out some of those vocabulary words that stuck out. You threw out, what was it? Emote.
Emote.
I would appreciate that.
Okay.
Yeah, it was geopolitical. Yes, I heard that. Weathering. So yeah, I really appreciate you for having us. For everybody that's listening, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Black S.T.E.A.M Pub. That's BlackSteaam Pub. And you can find us on YouTube under Black S.T.E.A.M. There is a visual aid for the song Left Right, so go check it out, show it to your kids so that they can learn. And you can find our music on all digital platforms, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, Tidal, Amazon,
Deezer.
Yeah, Google Play, whatever. You can find us on there.
Yeah, so definitely add those songs, get those songs, very crucial, and especially because I'm downloading them myself. And and thank you guys for what you're doing. I just feel like when you hear the statistics, especially in the technology field, how people of color are just, it's so disproportionate that this is very much needed. Like, the nerdy side, the technology side was not, especially in my field too, like female minority pilots are very far and few. I mean, there's more coming now, there's a push, but kids need to know, it's, I tell kids all the time, or my cousins, you're more than what you're depicted on in the TV and the negative stuff. You're so much more than that. So, ladies and gentlemen, a very special, much needed episode of Deeper Than Music with Black S.T.E.A.M. So any shout outs you guys want to give? We got 2 minutes before we, so, if there's anything else you want to say before we close out.
Let me give the shout out.
Oh, go ahead.
Now that you have a way to contact us, if there's anything that that your kids are struggling with, any subjects that you want a resource for, like the water cycle, like Left Right, please shoot it to us. We're always looking to help, and you guys are the ones that we're trying to reach, and we're trying to benefit, to help. And so if there's something that your kids are struggling with, mitosis, meiosis, whatever it may be, shoot it to us so that we can get you a resource out for that, or even just some help, anything you need.
Absolutely. And for everybody that's listening, we have a Make You Smile project. So if you know someone that just needs a smile on their face, it could just be something as small as, a phone call every week. Just contact us and let us know what's going on. And if it's within reason, we'll try our best to accommodate it.
There you guys have it. Black S.T.E.A.M, Deeper Than Music Radio, signing off.
Yeah, deeper than music. Hey.